Congratulations on welcoming home your first child and getting settled as a family of 3, as we discussed in previous videos. For better or worse, it's now time to navigate the transition from maternity and paternity leave to establishing your new normal as your wife and you prepare to return to work. If one of you is planning to stay home with your new baby, that's awesome. A lot of what we're going to discuss will be a little different and probably easier, but all of this is still going to apply to some extent. So I encourage you to stick around and share your perspective in the comments below. My name is Markus, but you can call me Mr. Homemaker. With the support and contributions of my lovely wife, Kristen, I hope to share some lessons that I've learned over the past 10 years and 3 children that I wish I had known when we started growing our family. As you transition from paternity and maternity leave to establishing your new normal of daily life, it's crucial to navigate this journey with intention and care. In this video, I'll introduce some strategies and things to think about to help you quickly and effectively ease your family into a healthy and fruitful lifestyle. Let's start with the obvious, your baby's first day at daycare. To avoid making this any more jarring and painful than it has to be, encourage your wife to participate in mommy and me groups during maternity leave. If you can find a daddy and me group, that should be in the mix too, but those are a lot less common. And as a stay-at-home dad, I can tell you that in real life, being the only man at a mommy and me group is not really comfortable for anybody. Besides, mommy and me groups offer additional benefits to your wife's mental health, so encourage and support her to get involved early and often. You should also arrange for your child to occasionally spend a little time with trusted adults, like another mom your wife knows, or relatives who live close by. This will help your baby become comfortable around other adults and children, making your baby's transition smoother. It will also force you and your wife to start test driving the routines of pumping, transporting bottles, and resetting everything at the end of the day. Because you need to ensure that your baby has taken a bottle well before their first day at daycare, and that they are accustomed to eating with someone other than you and your wife. Don't drag your feet on this, or you will regret it. So let's step back and think about the bigger picture of daily routines that you need to establish in your new normal life. Find out from the daycare you'll be sending your baby to what their daily schedule looks like. They'll have a schedule of times that they regularly eat, sleep, change diapers, and play. In the final weeks of paternity and maternity leave, begin establishing that routine in your home on both weekdays and weekends. Daycare isn't going to adjust to you and your baby. You and your baby need to get on daycare's schedule. Alongside the baby's daily routine, use the final weeks of leave to establish good habits of routines and chores that you and your wife will perform when you return to work. Each evening, cycle the laundry so you have fresh clothes, burp cloths, crib sheets, and clean bottles ready to go for the next day. In our marriage, some of the most tense moments between Kristen and me were scrambling to get ourselves and our kid out the door in the morning when we hadn't fully prepared the night before. Learn from my mistakes. Take ownership of the entire daily cycle and collaborate with your wife to make sure you both know exactly what needs to be done and how you're going to work together to get it done. Don't wait for this to become a problem before you tackle it. With some focused planning and preparation, you can do a lot of good to ease the transition to daycare and back to work for all 3 of you. But there's no way around it. That first drop-off at daycare, or the first 20 drop-offs, are going to be emotional for all 3 of you. This is another time when it's your job as a husband to take a hit for the team. In all likelihood, your wife is going to take this harder than you are, and your baby will find it a lot more jarring to go from mom to a stranger. But your baby is probably young enough that he or she isn't that attached to you yet anyway. So it will be a lot easier for your baby to go from your arms to a marginally less familiar person's arms.
You and your wife are going to want to start to hedge because you're going to be scared about leaving your kid at daycare with a nanny. And so you're going to say, well, maybe we just do the first week where they just go for 4 hours. That is gonna make you feel better. It is not gonna make your child feel better. Your child needs to get used to the rhythm of the times for drop off and pickup, because they will start to expect that and understand. And if you start with a short turn and then you try to extend it, like, it's just prolonging the period of adjustment. So make sure that you are ready and you go. But I do recommend on that first day that you and your wife maybe take a half day, maybe don't go into work, maybe go out to lunch, because it's gonna be a very difficult day for the both of you as you are only thinking about your baby, which will be the first few weeks of them being in childcare. I would recommend on that first day that you do it together. But every day thereafter, at least for the first few weeks, if your schedule allows and you and as the dad can be the drop-off person, please do it. It's the best part of the day is going in for pickup, and the hardest part of the day is drop off. Typically not so much for your baby, because honestly, when they're only 3 or 4 months old, it's not as hard. I'm actually envisioning this because with our first, we went from a nanny to daycare at about 18 months, and it was like tears at the door every day. But just be aware that if you could take off that pressure for your wife, it might be really helpful.
So as you begin planning your new daily and weekly schedule, the first building block is the logistics of getting yourself and your baby out the door and to daycare. This is going to impact when you need to be awake, when you need to go to sleep, when you will get to work, and when you will get home again. In order to incorporate daycare and drop off into our routines, Kristen went to the office earlier than she had so that she could leave earlier and make it to daycare for pickup. And since I dropped our child off at daycare, I got to the office later and got home much later than I had previously. Once you have all those major mandatory items built into your calendar, sit down with your wife to figure out what additional claims on blocks of time the two of you want to prioritize. This should include a healthy mix of time at home as a family, time interacting with other families, and individual time to recharge, socialize, and get support from friends and family. Bonding, playing, and teaching your child are responsibilities that should be shared and scheduled. Take an active role in nurturing your child's development and foster a deep connection with your baby, because they will reach new developmental milestones and they will become increasingly interested in you as a dad, not just that guy who carries him or her to mom. Definitely prioritize mom and me groups on your calendar and get-togethers with other dads. Think of it as putting on your own oxygen mask first, then your spouse's. Together, you become a stronger team, supporting one another and working in concert to take care of your child. Neglecting yourself or your marriage in favor of focusing on your child will be self-defeating. Remember, a healthy and thriving marriage creates the stable foundation and environment for your child. As these new schedules come into focus, you need to cultivate a healthy and ongoing conversation with your wife about each of your work-life balances. Both of you need to recognize that that balance is dynamic, not static. There will be ebbs and flows, chapters in your life where priorities will shift. It's impossible to be or do everything 100% each day, week, season, or year, and that just has to be okay. Rather than driving yourself crazy, trying to design the perfectly scheduled work-life balance, approach it as a series of iterative trials, taking into account the external forces like seasonal workplace demands that will cause you to have to shift that balance.
Recognizing, one of the biggest things I tell new moms coming in is to recognize that you're going through seasons in your life, and you may have been a really hard charger before having a kid, and you were like squeezing out every last ounce of productivity. You were the first one in, the last one out. Just recognizing that you are about to make the transition where you and definitely your wife are likely not able to keep that rhythm anymore, and that's gonna be a hard psychological adjustment for her, especially as society tells us that we can do it all. So just being there to listen and to be supportive, I don't think there's anything you can do to solve it, but just recognize that these are some of the emotions that she's gonna be going through, and I think if you know that, you can just be there to be supportive and helpful through the process.
As you navigate all of these transitions and conversations with your wife, it is crucial to cultivate a healthy, shared mindset. Do not approach these things as a negotiation. Instead, set a tone of collaboration and cooperation, working together to create a thriving family unit. It's not a zero-sum game where one person wins and the other loses. If either person is losing, then the marriage and the entire family will suffer. So err on the side of giving much more than you get without expectation of return, aiming for an 80-80 or 100-100 mindset, not 50-50, contributing wholeheartedly to the well-being of your family, as we'll discuss in the video series on marriage. Congratulations on this new chapter of your life. As you embark on this remarkable journey of fatherhood and household management, embrace the challenges and be open to continued growth and learning. The love and dedicated service that you demonstrate for your wife and child will establish the foundation of a healthy and fruitful family for years to come. Good luck.